reason.
Justin, Eric, Nathan, and Joseph, tell us what to do.
I'm Barbara Crampton from Chopping Mall, and you're listening to The Hysteria Continues.
And welcome back to The Hysteria Continues, episode 338. And this time we're going back to 1980 and a kind of slasher-adjacent pre-Troma film from Charles Kaufman, who is the brother of Lloyd. Mother's Day, which is a film that's been very much requested by people, so it's going to be an interesting one to watch. So whose choice was this?
Technically mine. It was really no one's choice. I just noticed it gets talked about a lot on YouTube, so I figured it was time for us to cover it.
Yeah, it's one I don't think I've done anything for Hysteria Lives, so I'm going to do a review from it. I kind of feel, well, we'll discuss as we go along, and obviously we've got the new format, which this is about the third time around now, so we are going to talk a little bit about some recently seen towards the end of the show, but we're going to get straight into the meat or the tofu of the show more or less straight away. But as it's your choice, Joseph, what do we have to bring us straight into the movie?
We have a rather lovely TV spot.
Excellent. So yeah, we'll take it away after this.
Now we'd like to show you some scenes from Charles Kaufman's Mother's Day. We'd like to show you the scene with the machete, but we can't. We'd love to show you the scene with the choker, the axe, the electric knife, but we can't because Mother's Day is too intense for television. The only way you'll ever see what happens is to see Mother's Day at a theater near you. Mother's Day contains scenes of violence which may be considered shocking. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
She was so proud of her boys. They always remembered their mama. Three beautiful young women, former college roommates, plan a tranquil reunion together. The plan was for the three of them to enjoy the weekend at a remote wilderness camp. All was going well until they were dragged in their sleeping bags to an isolated house. The hellish nightmare begins when they meet a mother and her two brutal sons. Their relationship proves to be a travesty of maternal indulgence as the mother supervises and sanctions her sons' bizarre games of terror, using the co-eds as victims. This mother sure was proud of her boy's talent with an electric carving knife. Wouldn't any mother be? And that was from the 1983 media home entertainment VHS release of Mother's Day. A film I believe I've only seen once prior to us covering it on the show. It gets talked about a lot on YouTube, so I figured it was time to cover it. And I really love the opening to this movie. You've got a slasher movie set up with basically people getting killed in the woods. But what I like about this is that you think that this old lady is about to be killed by these two nefarious hippies. That's not the case at all. Rather, this old lady is luring these two hippies out into the woods to be killed by her two sons. And that's the setup for the movie, really, is basically this mother and her two sons lure unsuspecting people to their place of residence, I guess it is, and rape and kill them. Now, your entertainment value may hinge on the fact of whether or not you enjoy watching people being brutalized and raped. I don't really. The slasher stuff in this movie, which is kind of sparse, is pretty fun. It's got that 1979, 1980 kind of sheen to it that I like. And I love the hairstyles. I like all the characters, actually. Even the bad guys, I think they're kind of characterized well. My problem is I just don't find much entertainment value in people being raped. Even if it is like short, like the insinuation is enough just to make me feel gross. So Mother's Day for me is not a movie I'm like hinged on or anything. I find, like I said, the characters I find very affable. I find the setup very well, like very well done. Like I said, I love that opening scene that kind of throws that switcheroo on you. Another thing I didn't really care much about in the film is like I felt like they could have set up the whole Queenie narrative a little better. Like I love the ending and like that shock you get from Queenie standing in the trees and then jumping out. But I feel like they could have built up that kind of that scare or that legend or that is she or isn't she out there a little better. So yeah, Mother's Day, it's okay, I guess. I don't know if I'll ever go back and watch it again. I'll probably get lynched for this, but I actually prefer the remake with Rebecca De Mornay. I just find it'll be a little more fun, a little more zippy, not as gross, I guess. So I guess I'm middle of the road on Mother's Day. I'm glad we finally covered it, but I'm not sure if I'll ever watch it again, if I'm honest. Eric, what did you think of Mother's Day?
I liked it a bit better, I think. I do agree with you that there are parts of the film that just don't play to me very well, and it's kind of... Part of the film reminds me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that's the part I'm not mad on because, you know, that's not a franchise I'm that invested in. The other half reminded me of I Spit on Your Grave, which, although this makes me sound kind of sadistic, it's the half of the film that I do kind of like. You know, I'm not interested in the two brothers sort of screaming at each other and acting like 6-year-olds. You know, that shtick I find kind of tiresome, you know, with the mother screaming at them. On the flip side, I did really like the 3 female leads in the film. I thought unusually for a film like this, they were given lots of backstory. You know, we learned they're all friends since high school or college, and they were a gang known as the Rat Pack, and they have each other's backs. You know, they even help one of them humiliate a very hirsute lover, or love rat, I should say, on a baseball diamond, which was kind of fun. We also learned that poor Abby has a torrid home life, looking after a shrill and ungrateful elderly mother, which is a plot point that comes back sort of into focus at the film's conclusion, and sort of, you know, so the film comes almost full circle. I found, you know, so as I said, found all 3 likable. I thought there were some fun comedy moments with them early in the film, you know, whether, as I said, getting revenge on the hairy Brad or the girls walking around the store with the paper bags on their heads. I thought was kind of fun, you know, knocking things over, which is in stark contrast to the tone maybe of some of the latter stages of the film where, as I said, it becomes kind of like I Spit on Your Grave. Like you, Joseph, I loved that opening with the hippie couple and the dude getting decapitated. And with a gag like that so early in the film, it's kind of no wonder it got into trouble with the censors, not just in the UK, where it didn't receive a release until 2015, but in the US, I know they had issues with the MPAA as well. I find myself, as I said, tuning out maybe a little when the brothers and the mother were on screen. I'm just not a fan of crazy families living in the woods. So, you know, as I said, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, American Gothic, even something like Tourist Trap, which I know isn't a family, but it's kind of like capturing people and tying them up type of horror movie. It's just not that entertaining for me personally. I don't find sort of bickering simpletons to be that entertaining either, which is why I never listen to this podcast.
How dare you?
I did, yeah. So... yeah, it's. I would like. I think, as I said, I like it more than you did, Joseph. And I keep saying, as I said, all the time. I'm aware of that, so I'm going to try and stop saying that. But as I said, I was going to say again. Jesus Christ. The 3 girls really likable. The family, not that they're dislikable. I just find them a bit boring to watch. So it's 2/3 of film that I really quite like. 1/3 of film I'm ho-hum on. But as a slasher film, I don't think it qualifies personally, because there's just no slasher action really in it. It's more of a Last House on the Left type of movie than it is anything else. I did like the idea of the 2 surviving girls getting revenge on the family, and turning the tables on them, which is where I think the film really succeeds in that sort of final 15-20 minutes. But no, I think it's solid enough. I did not see this film until quite late. I'd say it was in the last Do you know what it was? It came out on Blu-ray by 88 Films, released it in 2015, and I think that was the first time I ever saw it because it was just unavailable in the UK and Ireland. And it wasn't one I was anxious to see because reading about it made it look like it was more of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre type of film, and so it's one I never hunted down. But I'm glad I did in the end because it's a different film from what I was expecting. I don't think it's a classic as such, but I did enjoy it. Yeah, I did. I enjoyed the sort of I spit on your grave side of things. So kind of a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Kind of a thumbs up. Justin, your thoughts?
Right, so I'm just kind of trying to adjust Rosita because it looks like I'm being given a blowjob by Andy Warhol, but I'm not. It is my dog. So as you can see, but I'm trying to keep it calm.
An image I want in my head.
I love her.
Mother's Day is, again, it's a film that I've kind of actively avoided, I kind of guess, because of its reputation going back. Although I did actually buy a bootleg VHS of it at a film fair back in the early 90s, which, watching it again today, I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through. So this was kind of like the first time for me. For me, the problem with the film, there's a lot of it to like in it, but the problem with the film is its tone. It can't really settle on the tone, and I think because of the subject matter. Another film it reminded me of very much was John Waters' Desperate Living, which has got that kind of punk rock feel to it. So it's kind of an anarchic feel, which I think you got a lot of those kind of underground films at the time had that kind of like, what? She's a bit of a madam.
I think she's trying to say she doesn't really like the movie either.
I don't know, but she's a bit of a madam. So I can appreciate that anarchic feel to it. It definitely felt like that kind of had that punk rock aesthetic, and certainly from like it's obviously a New York and a New Jersey film. I think the problem is that it sets itself up as that kind of pre-Troma movie, which of course it is. And I love the scenes with Trina in Beverly Hills when she's got that LA party and they're all sniffing cocaine, and there's disco bunnies on roller skates. There's the butler in shorts, and sort of all that kind of stuff is a lot of fun. And the fact that Trina wears a chiffon nightie in the woods, the opening hippie, and the fact that the mother, they're at this self-improvement seminar, and there's these two hippies in headbands who then turn out to be nefarious, and obviously that's the kind of twist in it. I love the woman, the hippie, because she's very John Waters-esque, so I definitely feel like there's a John Waters influence on this. The problem, I think, is it's very difficult to maintain that kind of tone when you get to the rape stuff. So the three women are really fun, and you've got this kind of almost kind of Girls Gone Wild 1980 fashion sort of set up with these kind of girls trip where they're having fun in the woods. And then once they get captured, it goes to this gamut of emotions of the women going from shock, fear, catatonia in one part. But then it's very difficult for them to kind of go back onto that footing of kind of the cartoonish violence, but it kind of does. So it's a difficult film to really get a handle on. I definitely appreciated the satirical notions of it. Obviously, the idea that these brothers and the mother were living this kind of pop art, not pop art, but pop culture house full of stuff like the Big Bird's alarm clock, which I'm sure they didn't get clearance for by the Sesame Street. Am I going to put it down? Just say goodbye to Rosita now.
Bye, Rosita.
Bye, Rosita.
Right, she's going to go and bark at the door now. So try and gather my thoughts. But so it was the mother and the two sons were treated very much. They were cartoon kind of villains all the way through, weren't they? There was no kind of nuance or anything to them. But then the kind of pathos they were going for with the two women and three women, their plight, and one of them dying, it just kind of doesn't quite gel. Having said that, it's pretty much unlike anything else. And I kind of agree with Eric that is it a slasher movie? Not really. It's got some bits. I think that's possibly to do with the fact that although I kind of just presumed it was a film that came out or was made after Friday the 13th, especially the scenes where you have the three women and they go and sit by what looks like Crystal Lake when they're camping. It looks very much, but when I'm looking into this and getting into background, it was filmed exactly in the same places almost as Friday the 13th at the same time. So they were actually filmed some scenes in Blairstown where Friday the 13th was filmed, and both films were filmed in late 1979. 1989. So I was kind of just thinking if they got binoculars, they could have seen Pam Voorhees at the other side of the lake or something like that. So that it was one of those films that kind of awkwardly falls in between Halloween and Friday the 13th, where before the formula was set. So I think if this had been made a few months late, or in after Friday the 13th had come out, it definitely would have leaned more into the slasher movie kind of tropes that we kind of know. But I kind of appreciate it more than I like it, really. I just find it kind of, it's an uneven watch, but it's certainly kind of unlike anything else.
Nathan, you lesbian.
I absolutely love this movie. I've seen it.
What a shock.
I can't even tell you guys how many times I've seen it. I didn't have to rewatch it for this episode. I did, but I wouldn't have had to because I know it so well. Yeah, I'm always iffy about, rape scenes in movies because I do find that very difficult to watch. Here, thankfully, it's not very long. The scene itself, like, it's more the odd buildup because they make her play these weird games first. It's like they have these preset games, they'll call it the park bench, and so she's got to sit and act like she's reading a magazine while they pretend to be doing things around her before they attack her. And they're all doing it for the mom's benefit because she sits off to the side and watches like it's a theatrical show for her. So yeah, the scene itself, I'm not a huge fan of that part. I will say luckily it's not as bad as, say, I Spit on Your Grave, whereas the rape scenes in that movie are very long and drawn out and very difficult to watch. I kind of echo a lot of what you guys were saying. I think the three friends were fantastic. They really felt like these were three friends since college. Their chemistry together, I thought, was very, very well done. Enough so that when, spoiler alert, that when Jackie actually dies, I thought that it was impactful because, she actually kind of had a really bad life. Obviously in the beginning when we see her, she's with this guy who is totally using her for money. And, even at one point, I think when she's about to leave, she says, "I love you" to him. And he's like, "Yeah, take care." It's just very flippant. The way he acts towards her. So I actually felt kind of bad for her. Honestly, the only one that actually seems to have a good life is Trina, the one who's at that fantastic 80s party that Justin was talking about. I loved that party sequence. And at one point, I thought that in the background, we could see two gay guys. If that's the case, then that would be very, for 1980, I'd be kind of surprised. It's very much in the background, and I could have misread it, but you see two guys coming out of the kitchen. It looks like they got their arms around each other, but not in a friend kind of way, I guess I'd say. But anyway, regardless, I thought the character development for Abby was really good because, we see her at the beginning with her mother, who, like Eric said, is very shrill and just seems like an awful person, and she's got to take care of her. And, she's yelling things when Abby gets home, like, "Where have you been? Out whoring around."
You know who her mother reminded me of in the background? She reminded me of those touch tone terrorist calls where Willie's wife, you can hear her in the background screaming.
No, those were
she
funny.
reminded me of Principal Skinner's mother a bit as well.
Agnes.
Yeah.
So, one thing I will agree with you guys on is there is a tone shift because the first half of the movie is kind of played more campy and fun. But yeah, definitely after they get kidnapped, it's a total different ball game. It gets serious. I like the revenge scenes myself because I thought that, they earn their revenge. So, and there's that awful moment when they're escaping and she's lowering Trina down in the sleeping bag, but the cord in the sleeping bag cuts into her hands. And I thought the makeup effects for that scene were really well done when she comes back upstairs and sees that her hands have been cut into as bad as they have been.
That's actually a really good scene. I would have lowered her down without the sleeping bag. Why did she even need the sleeping bag?
I actually don't know what the point of that was. Because I don't think it was enough cushion to say break her fall. So yeah, I don't know. I actually really liked all the family scenes. I especially love the scene towards the end when Adley's talking to Mother, and they're kind of having this moment where he's telling his mom, like, you know, I think Queenie's dead. Grandma says she is, and he's like, Ike says that you only say she's alive so you can keep us around you. And she hits him, and I'm like, but I think there's definitely a lot of truth to that. I mean, Queenie, we find out, is alive, but it does seem like she, like, doesn't want her sons to leave, so she'll use emotional manipulation to keep them there. In a lot of ways, like I would say Abby's mother is, because, you know, at the end when... Another spoiler. At the end, when they're suffocating Mother with the boobs thing, I don't know what that thing is. It's like inflatable boobs, I guess. But they're suffocating her with them. And, you know, Abby starts hearing her own mother's voice. And then, you know, she's like, you know, your daughter will take care of you. So I think in Abby's mind, she was also killing her own mother. So, you know, I thought that was really good too. I love the scene Eric was talking about with Brad, the dauber. When they basically have him strip on the baseball field and turn all the lights on. I thought that was a lot of fun. In general, I just think it's a really good, early 80s movie. I was pretty entertained throughout. Like I said, my only criticism would be, the rape scene, but I mean, that's not really a criticism because, I mean, it is part of the movie. It's what, really leads to the revenge aspect of it, rather than them just trying to escape. I thought the scenes with Trina and Ike, the chase scene between the two of them was really good too. I liked the scene where she's trying to reach for the rock, but she's tangled in the bushes and, he's like slowly walking around really close. I thought that was a pretty tense moment. Yeah, in general, I mean, like I said, I really enjoy the movie. I think it's like very well done, and I would never have guessed, I guess, that it's a Troma movie because, like you guys said, it's actually early Troma, so I don't think they had found that Troma, aesthetic that they get later on.
Well, Troma got the rights to it later, but originally I was reading it was put out by United Film Distributions, who also released Dawn of the Dead.
I'm actually shocked by that. I almost thought that, his brother owns a distribution company. I'm surprised they didn't just go that route. But, I mean, hey, whatever works for them.
One thing that I've always noticed about Mother's Day is that final shock scene is given away in the trailer, in all the trailers, TV spots, anything you watch for Mother's Day.
So annoying.
That scene of Queenie, a.k.a. Justin Kurzweil, jumping out from behind the bushes. Sorry, Justin, it was an obvious joke.
Very obvious, but I wouldn't expect anything better of you, really.
How rude.
Do you think that Queenie was goth enough to be Justin? If Queenie was wearing a black veil...
Maybe, yeah.
Before she pounced, maybe.
I would say she's much more Toya, though, with that kind of, like, that bad sort of shock of hair and the white dress and also the bad dance moves. Well, mind you, if it's Toya, they would have seen her boobs behind those trees before that point, wouldn't they?
Don't be dissing Toya just because she's got ample bosoms.
Well, she's got a doctor to thank for that, hasn't she?
Are you sure about that? I think they're natural.
They're not. They're like two space hoppers.
They're not like two space hoppers.
They are.
Or hippity hops, I think they're called in America.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Because I haven't heard of a space hopper, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, thumbs up. I mean, I'm a fan.
You seem to be.
Oh, one other thing to mention is the artwork for it was always a classic, like, poster. I love the artwork with the half skull, and she's, like, holding up the gift of a severed head. I thought that was fun.
Anything else to say on the movie?
Well, just that Justin was mentioning that it was filmed around the same time as Friday the 13th on the same locations. I'm just looking at Nathaniel Thompson's wonderful Mondo Digital site, and he's reviewed the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray, which came out a few years ago, and one of the features on it is an interview with Tiana Pierce, who plays Trina, and apparently she talks on it about a run-in with the cast from the first Friday the 13th movie, so they obviously did bump into each other.
Oh, really? Didn't they? Yeah. Oh, well, that's funny.
For that feature alone, it almost makes me want to sort of double dip and buy the Vinegar Syndrome disc.
Well, should we get into some backgrounds? Has anyone got anything? Nathan?
Yes. Retro Slashers did an interview with Nancy Hendrickson, who played Abby, and she shared, some memories about working on the movie. Now, originally, she wasn't cast in the movie. They had another actress who dropped out the first week of rehearsal, and she was the wife of the editor of the movie, and they basically just asked her to fill in that role of Abby, and she did, because she wanted to be an actress as well. She has like really good memories of working on the movie. She mentions that there was an on-set romance between the actor that plays Ike and the actress that plays Trina. And one thing I got from the commentary is they showed up to the cast party together. Those two actors did, and I guess by the time they got there, everybody was pretty drunk, and the director and some crew members poured, I don't remember what they said it was, but maybe like some Gatorade or something, but they had a big thing of it, kind of like you see at football games when a football team wins, and they poured it on her, and apparently she got really dolled up and, had a very nice outfit on, and she wasn't happy.
Did she turn into Daniela?
Yeah, probably so. Probably get pretty mad about it. She talks about the actor that played Adley. The alias he used was Billy Ray McQuaid, which is a great name, by the way.
Sounds like a country and western singer, yeah.
She said he was a really method actor, and that there were times like the scene where he's tying her up to the exercise equipment. She was like, he was actually really rough. And she's like, he was a really sweet person, like off camera, he was worried he hurt me and stuff. But she's like, in the scenes, like he wanted to look, as realistic as possible. So she's like, I had some bruises, during the filming as well. She mentioned that the house that they filmed in, they all found it fairly creepy. There was a rumor that someone had died there. And she's like, so after filming stopped, we just got out of there. She seemed to think that she didn't know if that rumor about someone dying there was real or not. She said it was a rumor going around, but there was nothing that actually, I guess, proved that. But yeah, overall, she only seems to have good memories on it. She did mention that the 5 cast members, aside from Mother, but they were all around the same age, so they hung out a lot, and they all had a lot of fun together. So I guess that's why there's a lot of good chemistry on screen, because they actually became friends off screen. And yeah, she mentions that there was them and the cast of Friday the 13th visited the same bar in the area. So yeah, she, thought that was kind of fun that, they did. In general, yeah, it was a really good interview, and, it was kind of fun seeing her reactions, I guess kind of 30 years later. They mentioned in the interview, it's been 30 years. So yeah, good interview, and that's pretty much what I have. Just mainly that almost everyone in this cast used an alias.
Yes, because the guy who played Ike is credited as Holden McGuire, but his real name apparently is Frederick Coffin, which makes him sound like a friend of Justin's.
I knew you were going to say that.
Hey, Justin, are you proud of me? Like, I had to go to the Wayback Machine to find this interview for background.
Well, I'm very proud of you.
I didn't use IMDb or Wikipedia once.
Wow, you've come a long way, baby.
Thank you.
So, who's Joseph? What about you? Have you got anything for us?
I don't really have anything. The one thing I do have is I was reading a Fango article on that house, Nathan, and apparently Charles Kaufman had to kind of decorate it to make it look creepy. So I don't know when. I'm guessing they saw it after he decorated it, but apparently he was the only person to stay in the house overnight. I think he was sleeping there while they were filming there.
Sorry, I've just had to retrieve Rosita because she was howling like Dee Wallace at the end of the howling.
We couldn't hear her.
I can't believe we couldn't hear that.
Well, she doesn't. It's kind of just goes more like a cow mooing, quite lolling quietly. But I could hear it, so I didn't want to. She gets in distress a little bit.
Yeah.
Eric, how about you?
Yeah, just a few things I was reading. I don't know if it was the same Fangoria article. It was from issue 10, which is way back in 1980. But Charles Kaufman said the setup for the film was based on his own experiences of meeting up with college friends every year for a mystery weekend that one of them would organise. And one of the weekends involved being out in the woods about 7 miles from civilization. And when they started hearing noises in the middle of the night, they got freaked out. And so once morning broke, they spent the rest of the weekend in a B&B in the safety of humanity. But that gave them a sort of an idea for a setup for a horror movie plot. He says they had trouble with the MPAA. They made 5 different submissions to the MPAA. 5 cuts were made. They still couldn't secure an R rating, so they said feck this, and they released it in its original form, unrated, which I said that was released by UFD, United Film Distributions, who also had released Dawn of the Dead unrated as well. And the only other thing I have is toilet related. So apologies for this. Yes, sorry, Rosita, it is toilet related. The bear plop that one of the girls walks in. I was listening on to the audio commentary on the Blu-ray I have. A bit of it anyway. The bear plop that one of the actresses steps in was made by a special effects man. It isn't a real plop. But apparently it was edible because it was made from things like flour and oats and stuff. And so he took great delight in eating it in front of the disgusted crew because he wanted, I suppose, to be like Divine in Pink Flamingos.
Which I think is definitely there is that John Waters feel to the movie, isn't there? But did you mention, because I say while I was retrieving Rosita from the front door, did you talk, there was something I read about Michael McCleary, him throwing up on his mother, his screen mother in the film.
Oh, no, I didn't talk about that.
You didn't talk about that, no. But apparently they were heavy drink. He was drinking very heavily the night before and started feeling a bit nauseous. And during a scene, he threw up on his mother. And they stopped filming. And I was thinking, if that was John Waters, he would have left that in, wouldn't he?
It reminds me of that story. Was it Martine McCutcheon who vomited into Mick Hucknall's hair in a nightclub once? Did you hear that story?
Mick Hucknall.
Mick Hucknall from Simply Red. So he had kind of dreads at the time, and this famous British actress, I don't know if she's famous in the States, Martine McCutcheon, vomited in his hair.
Yeah. Well, I've got the only other thing I've got is I did find some reviews of the movie, which I kind of will probably come as a massive shock to you that it didn't get rave reviews in the press. But I've got a few bits here. There was in the Grand Rapids press, they said viewing Mother's Day is something like watching the drama develop when a large rock is overthrown in mid-July. New York Daily News, in a 0-star review, said the day homicidal rate becomes funny, Mother's Day may be considered a comedy. For the meantime, director Charles Kaufman has perverted his obvious sense of the ridiculous to pander to the audience for pornographic violence in a movie about a crazy woman and her 2 moronic sons who abduct 3 young women. Gross is the word, obviously playing on the old Grease is the word from the film a few years before. But there were a couple of reviews that weren't so bad. One of them in the Fort Worth Star Telegram, a telegram from Texas, said, to be certain, Mother's Day is not the first gory cinematic mess, and it won't be the last. It is different, though in a couple of ways it is sicker, kinkier than most, and to make matters worse, in a way it is better made. Kaufman's opening scene of a Beverly Hills poolside party incorporates some nifty camera work and a later flashback sequence of downright cleverness. And lastly, the Christian Star Ledger said that the film had a slightly higher level of sophistication. There's also a Mad magazine sort of gusto poking fun at such venerable American institutions as the County Rube and the overindulgent mother. And I thought it was quite the funniest thing for me was the whole idea that the mother who's smothering her sons was smothered with a pair of breasts. So there's definitely some thought behind that. But the thing that kind of jumped out, I found this amazing article in a newspaper called the Muncie Evening Press, where they interviewed the audience as they came out of Mother's Day in a showing in 1980. So they were talking to people who had just gone to see it. And Tammy Talby said, he knows you're alone was much better all round. Someone called Alan said Halloween was better. Then someone who wouldn't give their name said this movie is the worst movie I've ever seen and it should be removed from the screen forever. Someone called John Crawford beamed, it's worth the money, funny, come see it. But someone called Holly Gilkinson said that this was the stupidest, queerest, most money-wasting show we have ever seen. And just to add kind of another surreal touch, it was next to an article about the Muppets' Miss Piggy, about how she'd become an international sex symbol. So that kind of sums up 1980 for you there.
I will say this, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine when people see something like Mother's Day that's got like production values and everything. It's like, it's the worst movie ever made. And I'm like, no, it literally isn't. Like, I know it's a matter of opinion, but I'm like, you legit have movies out here that are like, they're barely even movies.
Well, it just goes to show that all those IMDb reviews where people go, "This is the worst movie I've ever seen," when it clearly isn't. It's not something new. There's always been people complain. And also, if you go to see a film like Mother's Day, although this came out, I think in about September 1980, so it would have been post Friday the 13th by a couple of months. So I'm guessing that people went to see Mother's Day thinking it was going to be another Friday the 13th, and it clearly wasn't.
I think people separate like hating from just like rating a movie altogether, I guess. Sort of like, my most hated movie in the world is Funny Games, but I wouldn't call it the worst movie ever made, because it's not. So that's how I would separate it.
Well, we haven't done that. Have we done Funny Games and the original German one?
Oh, God.
As a double feature. That's coming up next time on Hysteria Continues.
If that does, you're going to see a lot of anger. And I will, what do y'all say? Slag off? I will slag that movie off from the sun and back.
Okay. So is anything, what was the consensus on the group or the people who wrote in about this, Joseph? Did we get many people?
Well, we had 12 comments for Mother's Day, and here are the top 3. Surprisingly fun and watchable, considering that it could have easily been one of those need to take a shower afterward movies. Also, the punk versus disco argument reminds me of another highly intelligent musical debate. Toya sucks.
I wonder what possibly they could mean by that.
Yeah, that was from Alex Bovenstein.
Toy rules.
Boldly and shamelessly bizarre,
Susie
Mother's
sucks.
Day is effective, disturbing, and blackly comedic. With wonderful performances, a good use of location and production design, this one is a filthy film that is a lot of fun for audiences attuned to late-night violent exploitation fare. The Drano electric carving knife finale is the creme de la creme of the film's trashy gore moments. And that was from Sean Guerrero.
Hang on, can we just address something that was just said? Justin, I'm pretty 100% sure, said Susie sucks.
No, I didn't.
You did.
Did I?
You did.
He did.
You did what I did a few years ago with.
Well, it's because I'm being distracted by Rosita.
Yeah.
So I do apologise to Susie.
First time watch for me, and I found it tough to get into initially, with it constantly oscillating between goofy Porky style comedy and the Last House on the Left grimness. However, the balance settled a little more in the final act, which made the experience more enjoyable. Whenever I stick a movie on and the Troma ident comes up, I'm hit with a sinking feeling, and this one was no different. I'd say it's above average for a Troma release, but still pretty average overall. Best use of fade to yellow in cinema history, though. And that was from Lyman Sogan.
It's like his Muffy to his twin sister Buffy.
Yes.
It's his alter ego.
Evil twin.
So yeah, drop us a line at thehysteriacontinues@gmail.com. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe or the like button, and join us on Patreon for that extra bonus content.
Excellent, and thank you for writing. We've got a bit of feedback coming up shortly, haven't we? But before that,
Yes.
Eric, I haven't forgotten about you, of course.
It's my joke of the week. It's so great and fantastic.
So, hey dude, I see that the head of Troma is feeling like totally under the weather at the moment. I saw him the other day and he had a really loud cough, man. A really loud cough, man. Lloyd Kaufman.
I'm trying to see Rosita. I'm trying to cover her ears.
She's laughing. I can see she's laughing.
That
She
wasn't
loves
a laugh.
it.
Were you laughing, Rosita? What did you think? Tell me, was that funny?
Stick your hand toward the screen, Eric. You'll pull back a nub.
So, anyway, Rosita, what did you think of that? She's going to put a...
I
She
have a feeling
pushed it
that
herself. I had nothing to do
you
with
pressed
that.
that button.
with her little paw.
Yeah.
Look, she thinks it's hilarious doing that.
Well, obviously, like dog, like owner.
So, Okay, well, what do we want to do now? Maybe we've got a bit of feedback. I don't know if anyone's got anything to hand. I'm a little distracted at the moment.
Okay, I've got one here. This is from Glenn Smith. He says, I recently stumbled on the trailer for Night Game 1989. I've never seen it or even heard of it. Apparently, it's some sort of police procedural / slasher movie. It stars Roy Scheider and it looks very well made. Have any of you chaps ever seen it? Glenn Smith. Night Game 1989. You've seen it, Joseph? Any good?
Yeah, it's well made, but it's pretty boring.
If I'm remembering right, it does have one good chase scene in it, though, but I might not be remembering it correctly.
I know What Monster, the kind of the podcast, has got like a really good newsletter, and they reviewed Night Game recently. I haven't seen it, so but it kind of piqued my interest. But yeah, it sort of said it isn't really a slasher movie. It's kind of uses kind of some slasher tropes and imagery for a kind of fairly dull police procedural movie. So, but I'm sure it's one I'll catch up with eventually.
All right. I have one here. It says, hi all, April writing in to tell you guys that I'm loving all the new video casts, and it does my heart good to see you gents banter with each other. For the record, Joseph looks nothing like I imagined him, but my mental image of Eric was pretty spot on.
Huh.
Well, to clear up potential confusion, you might be more familiar with me by two other names, as I guested with you fine lads for the Puppet Master episode under my dead and buried name, Tyler. In the time since, I have been working my way through coming out as trans, but you also might remember the nom de guerre of the Hobgoblin, under which I'd pester you guys back in the day. Quick question for you all. What is your take on the vagueness surrounding the state of the Friday the 13th franchise? Seems to me like Horror Inc. and other affiliates are more interested in what they can merchandise out of this as opposed to a genuine excitement for franchise revival. But what do you guys think? All the best, and may the hysteria long continue. April. Thank you, April. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, April.
Well, I saw in the press the other day that there's possibly a new Friday the 13th film on the way and a new Friday the 13th game as well.
I saw about the game. I didn't see about the movie.
There's also an official short film.
An official one?
Yeah, where did I read that? It's 13 minutes long. It's officially sanctioned by someone from that crew, but I can't remember the name of it.
Is it the woman with the big hair in the diner?
Sandy.
Sandy.
I didn't watch it. I just read about it.
Of course, there's the TV show coming as well, which is it called Crystal Lake or what's it called?
I think it's called Crystal Lake.
And that was going to be a prequel, wasn't it?
Yeah. So there's people cast as young Jason and sort of slightly less young Jason. I see posted up. I'm intrigued to watch that. I don't know. It's probably going to be very different to the movies, I imagine.
Barry and Claudette's going to be in it.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Because, they are the two that I guess apparently are the ones that messed up to begin with.
It's going to be interesting to see how that works, though, isn't it? Because if they do that and they end with that, but was it 1957, wasn't it? So, but in the film, it says that there's been accidents and things like poison, the water's been poisoned and stuff, isn't it? Mrs. Voorhees has tried to stop the camp reopening. So all I can guess is they're going to have to do another thing of people trying to reopen the camp and Mrs. Voorhees bumping them off, presumably. I don't know how they're going to work it. It would be interesting to see.
I mean, I think the whole thing's going to be a prequel leading up to Jason's death, right?
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to go further than that? Like maybe go into the future?
Well, it's kind of, if they do another series, how are they going to do that unless they actually going to remake the first couple of films as part of a TV series? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. But I hadn't heard anything about a new film. Eric, do you know any more about it?
No, I just saw something on Instagram or something from the Friday the 13th franchise, the guys who own that website.
Okay, well, it's only a matter of time, isn't it? I mean, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? I mean, when was the last official one? 2009. So, I mean, what's that like? 16 years ago, which is kind of ridiculous, isn't it? Considering how much money, especially Halloween, the rebooted Halloween series made.
I am kind of worried about the TV series, though, because it sounds like if it's just the events leading up to Jason drowning, then it's not going to be horror.
I feel feels like it'd be more of a drama or something.
Yeah.
I reckon there'll be, Mrs. Voorhees obviously was crazy anyway, wasn't she? So maybe she was crazy before that and was a secret serial killer.
That could be fun.
I hope, I know this is going to happen, but with these series, to stretch things out to 8 episodes of 45 minutes each or something, there's going to just be a lot of padding and a lot of side plots.
Well, maybe they could have a whole episode of her picking out her Aaron knit jumper.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I feel bad for April, though, because she wrote in with a really clever lines, like the nom de guerre line, but I'm butchering it, so sorry, April.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
Well, let's have a little chat about what we've been watching recently. So, although we recorded the main show yesterday, and as I say, we're going to be going, Eric's been called back to that Turkish prison, haven't you, for a date with a couple of beefy guards. And I'm going back to the UK for a few weeks. So we are kind of recording lots together, so we've got content for you throughout the summer, but we kept a couple of things back. So Eric, have you seen anything? I know there was something I think you said.
I watched trying to think of the title of it. You saw it and you mentioned it last week, from the makers of Talk to Me. Bring her back. Bring her back.
Yeah.
Yes. So Bring Her Back, which has just been named Mark Kermode's Film of the Week on this week's Kermode and Mayo show, which is a seal of approval. I went into it expecting elevated horror, which I did get to an extent, but I was surprised that it was also quite commercial and quite mainstream, and it had normal characters behaving kind of in a normal manner within reason, considering the setup of the movie. So as you said, it's an Australian movie. 2 young kids not young, they're teenagers, are orphaned and sent to live with Sally Hawkins, who's this mysterious old woman who lives on her own. Well, she doesn't live on her own. She has another weird foster child who's this young kid with a shaved head who likes to eat everything, including knives and furniture. And I won't say any more about the plot, but it does resemble has similarities to other sort of recent movies the last 10 years or so. But what I loved about it, apart from the fact that the lead actor is the grandson of Shakin' Stevens, which you mentioned, Justin, which I still love that fact. It's got a really likable cast. The lead girl in it, she's a partially sighted character, but also partially sighted actress. It's her first time doing any acting of any kind, and she's really, really good in it. There's a real emotional pull to the movie, not just from the kids, but from the sort of quote villainess as well. And as I said, I was expecting it, because it's an A24 release, so I was expecting it maybe to be quirky. And I was delighted when it wasn't. I was delighted that it was kind of multiplexy for the most part. And it's a straightforward kind of horror tale, just told with a lot of kind of intelligence and heart, I suppose. So yeah, it was a big thumbs up from me. I really, really enjoyed it. I preferred it a lot more than I did Talk to Me. As I said, it's from the same directors. They're brothers. I can't remember their names, but they did Talk to Me, which I liked, but I didn't love. This one I did love, though.
Joseph and Nathan, have you seen it yet?
No, I want to, though, because I liked Talk to Me. So if this is even better than that, then I'll probably like it.
Well, it's kind of, I would say it's not as scary. It's not kind of meant to be as scary, is it? But certainly much more graphic, isn't it? Much more. Yes. Very gory. There's some incredibly gory sequences in there. So yeah, I think they're definitely ones to watch. I enjoy both those movies, so I'd be interested to see where they go next with it. So, well, thank you, Eric. And Nathan, how about you? Have you seen anything?
Unfortunately, I haven't since we last recorded.
Okay.
But in my defense, we last recorded yesterday. So.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, yeah, it's fair enough. And Joseph, how about you?
What Nathan said.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I've only got one thing I held back from yesterday, which is a movie that I've always been slightly curious about, and it's from 1989, and it's called Matinee. It's a Canadian kind of slasher movie, but it's one of those kind of groups of horror movies set in a cinema. So thinking along the lines of Demons and the Spanish film Anguish. And obviously, there's also been more modern takes on the kind of the thing. And I think a slasher in the cinema is always a great thing. I think it's a fantastic setting. So I was really looking forward to this. It's a Canadian TV movie from 1989, but it's got breasts in it as well, naked breasts. So I just don't know if they're more lenient with TV stuff in Canada. I don't know. But the basic setup, it starts with this teenage boy and girl going into a cabin by a lake, and they're having sex, and then a knife comes up through underneath him, up through his chest or through his neck. Very Friday the 13th. And it pulls back to show an audience watching a film. And a teenage girl on a date looks towards the boyfriend, and he's got a knife sticking out of his neck for real. So it's playing with that whole clever thing of like what's real and what's not real. And then it kind of goes into this bizarre kind of almost art house. It just does this complete switch around. I wasn't expecting this kind of not police procedural, but you're trying to work out who the killer is. But it's very strangely put together. The sound was very muffled, even though I watched it on a kind of a Blu-ray version of it. And so it played with all these kind of conventions of slash movies, horror movies. And then in a year later, they open up the cinema again. They're doing a horror movie festival. We have the director in attendance. People start dying. But it's just very strangely put together. I couldn't really get my head around it. So have any of you guys seen it? Matinee from 1989?
No, I see that. I just Googling it here. I see it's on YouTube, the full movie.
Is it? Okay. But it's also AKA Midnight Matinee, which is...
I feel like I've seen this.
Well, Matinee, there was Matinee released in 1993 with John Goodman.
Yeah, Joe Dante.
And this one stars, it's one of the people in it, it's a smoking man from the X-Files. Do you remember him? He was always the enigmatic smoking man that was always appearing in the X-Files, which I think was shot in Canada as well. So
I never watched the X-Files.
Yeah, me either.
Okay. But there's a few enigmatic kind of recognizable Canadian actors in this. But it is strange. It's half 80s slasher movie and half kind of weird art house experimental movie. It is a strange mix. But if you guys get a chance to catch it, I'd be interested to see what you thought of it. But yeah, so that's anything I've caught up with since yesterday. So I guess we just got to work out what we're going to be covering next time.
Well, Eric's been slagging off Texas Chainsaw a lot lately. So
sorry.
Just no, it's okay because I'm going to make us even now. We are going to be covering Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Oh.
I like Texas Chainsaw 3D.
I knew you liked that one.
Yeah.
Because that one has a little less of what you dislike about the franchise in it.
Didn't we skip a few?
Well, I mean, it's not like they're sequels or anything. They're kind of their own standalone Texas Chainsaw movies.
Okay. I wonder if I can get to see it in 3D.
I don't know. I mean, I watched it in 3D at the cinema.
Is it a good 3D movie? Or is it post-converted?
Honestly, I don't remember the 3D being fantastic, if I'm honest.
I thought it was okay. I've done Blu-ray, 3D Blu-ray. Let me see if it's real. What year was it released, Nathan? Can you remember?
I do not remember.
2013?
2013. It was shot in native 3D, yes.
Cool. Well, we're going to be covering that. So what are we playing out with, Eric? Joseph, even, I should say.
Well, also from 1980, and to kind of go along with the whole pop theme that they have going on in their house, how about Pop Music by M?
Excellent. Yes, very good. Although I did notice that, wasn't it, I think We're Alone Now was also in this movie, wasn't it? Which was surprised. I didn't realise it was from that far back. I always presumed it was a Tiffany song, but it's obviously not.
No.
What's funny is I knew about the older version because my dad used to listen to it more so than the Tiffany one. But then once I heard the Tiffany one, I loved it.
Wow. But anyway, Pop Music is a good choice. So, okay, well, thank you for watching, everyone at home. And apologies for Rosita's bad behaviour, but she's cute, so we'll put up with that. And we'll catch you next time on The Hysteria Continues. So thank you for watching, and say goodbye to the good people.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Talk about pop music. Talk about pop music. I wanna dedicate it.
Susie sucks.